Hello everybody, welcome to the Empressive channel. Now this is the second review that I'm doing on Love is Blind season 5. If you haven't seen my first video, I uploaded one last week, so if you get a chance, please check it out. This season of Love is Blind is truly a hot mess, and if you haven't caught up to it, please do before watching this video because it will be filled with spoilers. Now, before I get into my review, I recently watched an interview that one of the castmates on the show named Aaliyah did with Hanging with the Hamiltons, and she opened up about her experience on Love is Blind. She talked about the madness that went on. If you don't know, Aaliyah built a romantic connection with Uche, and she also built a friendship with Lydia, but then she later on found out that Lydia and Uche used to date, and they even slept together 3 months before being on the show, and they purposely hid this information from her. Also, she found out that Lydia signed up for the show after Uche signed up because she was stalking him. So the whole thing was really a lot for Aaliyah to take in because Lydia and Uche both played her. Lydia is a snake. She befriended her because she was trying to keep tabs on her and Uche's relationship. And Uche lied to Aaliyah. He lied about the nature of his relationship with Lydia. He tried to act like it wasn't serious, but it definitely was. They were dating on and off for 2 years.
There have been this on and off thing for 2 years between them. And with Uche, he had told me that they dated for 3 weeks in 2020. And that was it. But I will say, once I started getting both sides of the story and putting pieces together, I was like, something is not adding up here. And what a lot of people don't see is 3 days prior to him telling me about him and Lydia's past, I told him Lydia was my closest friend.
Yeah.
We had a full conversation about she and I and how we became close. So I'm sharing this with him, and he didn't reveal the truth. And I felt like that would have been the appropriate moment to say, you know what, I have to tell you this now. That didn't happen. And also same with her, when I'm talking to her and sharing these things with her, about 5 days in, that would have been the moment to say, look, we have been building this friendship. This is the truth. And I just want you to know this.
Now, Aaliyah also revealed some more interesting information in this interview, and she revealed that she and Uche actually did try to date outside of the show. And Uche confirmed this on his IG story. He said he and Aaliyah were still on good terms, and he said, at lunch, we both forgave each other, we held hands and shared our first kiss, and we agreed to date outside of the show. So I kind of took this and made the assumption that they were still together, and that was wrong on my part. They are not together, thank God. I'm glad that Aaliyah came to her senses and realized that Uche wasn't the one for her, because Uche is just exhausting. He judged her for cheating on her ex-boyfriend, even though he cheated on Lydia, and he hid his relationship with Lydia from Aaliyah for a long time. So he had his faults too, but he was trying to tear into Aaliyah, and I thought that was hypocritical and judgmental of him. I mean, he is the type to emotionally abuse somebody. And also, the last straw for Aaliyah was when he was saying things about her behind her back, and he told her to her face that she wasn't his ideal type.
But even when we had our sit down, I was like, okay, maybe we can work towards engagement and marriage. And we agreed to try to date outside of the show. We attempted to, but it didn't work out. And I had been told by some of the other cast members that he was really, he just was sort of saying some things about me to them. And I guess they had like a group chat. I don't know. Never seen it, but just multiple people telling me, Aaliyah, this is what's being said and you deserve more. I did try to ask him, like, what is it that, I thought we had this connection and this, what is it? I don't think he was open to it. And I'm going to be honest, I think that he wasn't truly attracted to me as well.
Really?
He mentioned that I wasn't his type, his ideal type.
Now, when I heard this, I wasn't really surprised, to be honest. I didn't want to generalize. I didn't want to assume that Uche wasn't attracted to Aaliyah, because Aaliyah is attractive, but Black men like Uche typically don't go for women that look like Aaliyah. They go for the white girls or the girls who look racially ambiguous like Lydia. So that is Uche's type. And I honestly wouldn't put it past him if he was a bit color struck or a colorist. Yeah, I said it. I wouldn't put it past him. I'm just glad that Aaliyah knew her worth and she has moved on, and it seems like she is in a happy and healthy relationship. So good for her. Now I want to get into this review because there was a lot to unpack in episode 8 and episode 9. The episode started off very chaotic. Uche and Lydia got into it after he confronted her about stalking him, and also he tried to tell everybody that Lydia basically was a stalker and she followed him to be on the show, and nobody was trying to hear him out. So he decided to go over to Lydia's connection, Milton, and tell him, hey, listen, Lydia is crazy. He didn't say this verbatim, but basically he was trying to warn him that Lydia has issues.
But I think I would be a bad friend if I didn't come to you and tell you that Lydia planned to be here with me so that we could end up here together. And she came in the first day telling all of the girls, I feel like I'm gonna meet somebody from my past here, and if I do, it's fate. It's not fate. She fucking planned for us to both be here because she could have let me go.
Now, I will say this. I do believe Uche had other intentions in telling Milton this information. I don't think he was just telling him this to look out for him. I still think he has some invested interest in Lydia, and I think he probably is a little upset that Lydia came on the show and actually found a connection. He's a little upset that she found a connection and he didn't. And so he's trying to ruin her chances with Milton, but Milton seemed to be super chill about it, and I loved how he reacted in this situation. Milton might be the youngest in the cast, but he seems to have the most emotional intelligence out of everybody. He's willing to actually sit down and listen to both sides, and I like how he responded to Uche. When Uche was trying to feed his mind with doubts, Milton was like, well, yeah, that's your experience, but you know, my experience is different. And I think he reacted that way to kind of show Uche that he wasn't fazed by what he was telling him, because Uche was really trying to get in his head. So Milton played it cool like he always does, but he wasn't tuning him out either. I think he was listening to Uche's warnings, and he was also seeing how Lydia acts when conflict arises. And Milton himself would experience that ugly side of Lydia later on. He would experience how irritable and angry she would get in the mornings. And Lydia explained to him, well, I'm mad because you're messy and you're dirty. She has no problem critiquing Milton and calling him out. But when Milton talks about her behavior and how it makes him feel, it's a problem. Anytime he has one concern, she immediately gets defensive and feels like he's attacking her. Like, for example, he expressed his concern about how she behaved at that party when she and Uche got into it. Milton wasn't exactly pleased with the way Lydia acted. Even though he supported her in that moment, he wasn't pleased because she caused the scene. And I kind of get it, because Uche was triggering her. He was really triggering her. So she felt justified in the way she behaved, but it still made Milton uncomfortable. And when he was trying to calmly explain that to her, she immediately got defensive. She has no problem criticizing Milton all day long, but the minute he voices something about her, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. I mean, she just doesn't like constructive criticism. She doesn't want to acknowledge her flaws. She's emotionally unhinged, and she just got a lot of issues.
You think because the people do things differently, they're in the wrong.
I never told you you were in the wrong. I never said...
You don't say it, but you act like it.
Lydia, I wasn't judging you, but like, yeah, like I didn't 100% like the way you handled that situation at all.
And I'm so damn proud of how I handled that situation, because I was not gonna sit there and let him speak this bull that he was speaking.
I know it's not easy to like be able to like control your emotions like I do.
Oh my God, I hate that fucking phrase. I fucking hate it. It's like, you don't control your emotions, Lydia. You don't react the way that you do. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm sorry that you don't have the emotions and you don't react the way the same I do.
Like, I'm listening to you, but I feel like you don't listen to me. Like, when I like notice something, it's like you automatically go into defense.
I'm not, no. I need a minute. I need a minute.
I said this in my previous video and I'll say it again. I don't know how Milton is going to be able to handle Lydia, because even though they have good chemistry, when they run into conflict, this is how Lydia reacts. And Milton is the type to avoid confrontation. He doesn't like it, and he probably will shut down in the future just to avoid upsetting Lydia. And that's not really a healthy way to operate in a marriage. So I don't think it would be a good idea for Milton to marry Lydia. I think he has a lot to think about, and I could tell his family members aren't really on board either, especially his mother and his sister, because it seems like they could see right through Lydia. They definitely know something is off, for sure. Now, I want to talk about this whole scene between Izzy, Stacy, Johnie, and Chris. This was one of the big love triangles of the season. Both Izzy and Johnie were each other's first connections. However, Izzy dumped Johnie because he felt like he couldn't trust her. I mean, Johnie was telling Izzy one thing, but then she was telling her other connection, Chris, another thing. The truth of the matter is, Johnie really wanted Izzy. She was in love with him, and she even dumped Chris to be with him, but Izzy ended up dumping her. So she went back to Chris and asked him to take her back. And Chris turned her down at first, but he did end up spinning the block, and now he's with her. And now that I look at the situation, I think it was a bad idea for Chris to give Johnie a second chance, because Johnie really can't be trusted for real. She can't. When Izzy exposed the fact that Johnie was begging him to be her boyfriend and saying how much she loved him, Chris was actually surprised, and that kind of let me know that Johnie didn't tell him how deep her feelings were for Izzy.
She told you she loved you in there?
4 times. I counted it.
Okay, what do you want me to call it?
You asked me to be your boyfriend multiple times, and I never said
no,
yes.
I
You told me
didn't.
to fall in love with me multiple times, and I never told you anything back, so please do not call it
I never asked him to be
I asked
my
Stacy to be my girlfriend. If you want to get technical with it, please do not say that again.
To be my boyfriend. That never happened.
We can roll the tape.
No,
honey.
I didn't.
You heard how Johnie was trying to deny those claims, but honestly, I believe Izzy. I do think Johnie really wanted Izzy, and she couldn't stand the fact that Izzy was connecting with Stacy, which is why she was being so fake to Stacy. She was talking about her behind her back, and I understand Stacy's beef with Johnie because Johnie was being messy. Johnie is messy and she is manipulative. With all that being said, I still think that Izzy was doing too much by involving himself in Johnie and Chris's situation. He moved on, Johnie moved on. It shouldn't matter at this point. I think he was giving them way too much energy, and he tried to act like he was so concerned for Chris, but in reality, he still has unresolved feelings for Johnie. Johnie was in love with him, but I also think he had feelings for her too. But he's mad about how things turned out. He found out that she was dishonest, and of course this triggered his trust issues, and so he resents Johnie. He resents the fact that he ever felt anything for her, and he decided to choose Stacy instead because he felt like Stacy was the less problematic option, not because she was his first option. And Stacy kind of clocked it too, because Izzy kept saying how much he loves Stacy because she's not like Johnie. And it was just weird because he basically was saying the only reason why he appreciates her is because she's not trash like his ex. He's not saying that he appreciates her for who she is, but he's just sizing her up to another girl who he had feelings for and probably still has some feelings for. That's weird.
I was just trying to look out for Chris, and I think she's like...
Why do you care?
Because he's a good guy. I got to know
Well, he doesn't like you.
No, we're fine. It's not like he...
It didn't seem like you were fine when I walked in there.
I was just trying to look out and tell
But
him...
why? You're trying to look out for him with Johnie?
I was just trying to...
Why?
It has nothing to do with Johnie. It was just
That's
about...
what I'm stating. I think that you're not really acknowledging the sensitive point to me that it's Johnie. And that it's your person. It bothers me.
I don't care about Johnie. And you know
I know
that.
you don't.
I saw you railing into her ass, and I got so turned on. I appreciate our relationship so much. Looking at the entire night, I am so glad.
I'm sure you are looking at that and then looking at me. I'm sure you're glad. And for me, I'm getting more and more furious that I'm in the same boat as that. The appreciation you're feeling for me now, I don't want it to be elicited from looking at crazy. I want it to be just because. I'm just saying there's other ways that you could show me that you're appreciative of me and not compare it to your past relationships that we just encountered.
Johnny's not a previous relationship. Johnny was a pod chick.
Well, she was over me for quite some time, so I kind of don't feel so good about that.
I have to say this. I love how Stacy just got straight to the point. I know some people might think Stacy comes off a little too harsh and a little too strong at times, but I feel like Stacy sees the BS quickly and she calls it out. She even saw the BS with Izzy. And see, Izzy is too busy talking about how much Johnie lied about who she truly is. But come to find out, Izzy was lying too, because he was in those pods selling Stacy a dream and a fantasy. He was talking about how he was going to cook for her every day and cater to her. He even lied about his shaky finances, and he only told her because he knew that Stacy was going to find out. He was doing a lot to present himself a certain way, but Stacy is not going to be satisfied with his words. She wants to see actions behind those words. So Izzy foolishly set a bar for himself that he couldn't reach. And when Stacy called him out on it, he had a whole emotional breakdown. And this is exactly what I said in my previous video. Izzy is going to crack under pressure in this relationship with Stacy. He's not going to be able to live up to her standard, and he's not going to be able to live up to the standard that he set. He sold Stacy a dream, and it's slowly turning into a nightmare. And anytime Stacy calls him out on his inconsistency and his lies, he has an emotional breakdown and tries to guilt trip her into staying with him. I mean, this is going to be a pattern throughout the relationship, and it's going to get to a point where their relationship breaks down.
So like in the pods, you're like, in ideal life, this is how it would go. Like we come home from work and we lay down and like, I do this. I'll cook for you and I'll like rub your feet and this and that. And it's like, sometimes I don't really feel like that's how it is. Sometimes I feel like that's me doing it.
Okay, so elaborate more. You cook for me twice. Put cooking aside, what have I not done for you?
Well, when you come home, like, what do you do for me?
You make me feel like I'm not enough for you.
I guess I feel like, I don't know if I can trust you with like the credit card stuff, because I've asked you about that before. I'm like, why wouldn't he have said that before? And I'm like, you know I asked you that. Like, why don't you have any credit cards? You can get points. And you're like, oh, I used them in college and, you know, I just got rid of them. Like that. And then like in the pods talking about finances and debt, like, is there anything I need to know? And you're like, absolutely not. I feel like that wasn't totally truthful. And like, you didn't say, you know, there's something I need to tell you. This is what's going on with me. It wasn't that. So now it's like, can I even trust what you're telling me now about it? Like, that scares me.
This right here is a mess. It's truly a mess. This whole season has been a mess. But anyway, tell me what y'all think about this video down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.